Welcome back to another episode of the Bible from Scroll to Screen. We'll start this episode with a small demonstration. We all know this verse, some of us know it by heart, so I'm sure we can all read it. But what if I remove all the spaces between the words? This is closer to how ancient readers encountered scripture. Early biblical manuscripts were written in a style called scriptio continua, that is, continuous writing with no spaces between the words. This was simply how writing worked in the ancient world. The oldest copies of the New Testament, the Hebrew manuscripts of the Old Testament, the Greek Septuagint, and even the codices that we saw in the last episode all follow this same pattern. Word spacing only became common several centuries later, probably in the 7th or 8th centuries AD. Now the Old Testament manuscripts added another layer of complexity entirely. Now back in the demo with the spaceless verse, what if I remove all the vowels? Ancient Hebrew and Aramaic were primarily written with consonants. Vowels is a way of conveying the pronunciation, but native speakers already knew how the words sounded, so they simply left out the vowels while writing. Reading Hebrew scripture with no spaces and no vowels required genuine expertise. For trained readers, this was manageable. Moreover, public communal reading was the dominant mode for scripture. A skilled reader would perform the text aloud while others listened. Not everyone owned a copy of the Bible. People gathered and heard it read by someone who had mastered it. Full vowel markings were only added centuries later by a set of Jewish scribes known as the Masoretes, who worked roughly between the 6th and 10th centuries AD to preserve and standardize the Old Testament texts. Their goal was to make sure the future generations would know the pronunciation and the meaning of the original text. Over time, spaces appeared, vowel markings were added, punctuations followed, and chapter and verses came much later. Chapter divisions came in the 13th century, and verse divisions were standardized in the 15th and 16th centuries. The Bible we read today looks clean and structured, but it is the product of a long and careful transmission history. And this was carried forward by some very dedicated copyists known as the scribes, whom we'll talk about in the next part. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.